Wrap. I'm Kyle Kraskin. Joining me once again, as always, the Rams quarterback, Vince Ferragamo. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Happy
New
Year.
The Hall of Famer, Jackie Slater.
Good to see you, Kyle.
And we've got our lockdown corner out there,
Hey,
Ron Pitts.
Kyle.
How you guys doing today?
Across the water.
You're all looking
Great.
really good. Happy New Year.
Yeah,
Happy New Year to you.
Week 17 of the NFL season, and of course, we're going to play a Week 18 this year for the
How about
first
that?
time. We've got more to be decided. We've got more to learn, but right now, why don't we tell you what's on tap for the show tonight? We're going to break down the Rams' big comeback win today in Baltimore, and we're checking in on Cooper Kupp's chase for the record books. The AFC playoff picture is shaping up. We're going to see where the Chargers fall, and the big question of the day, can Jackie catch? We're going to put the big man to the test later on in the show. How you feeling about this, Jackie?
Weedy.
A little bit of pressure on you.
We're
Jack.
going to figure that out. See, we're going to figure that out.
We are, okay?
Definitely.
You seem confident, though.
Well, I have a measurable amount of confidence. Measurable amount.
Vince, are you confident?
Oh, yeah, I'm confident. He won't drop any.
All
I
right.
just hope he has a good touch. You know, you got to
man,
have
you-
special
see,
touch
you
on these.
questioning the
Some
way
of
I
these
throw the
passes.
ball.
All right.
Oh, I think you can do it. Vince.
I saw Vince warming up earlier today, and he was zipping it around the studio.
Feels pretty
You
good.
don't want to zip it when you don't have to.
You get that, Vince?
Right?
All right.
I heard it
All right.
clear.
Sometimes you just lob it over there.
Okay, let's get to the details of the day. The Rams playing this morning in Baltimore. Trips to the East Coast, no big deal for Sean McVay and the Rams entering today with a 12-3 record in 10 a.m. starts. They would improve that record with a comeback victory today. The Rams flirting with disaster a bit, but end up in the winners column, 20-19 the final. They were down 13-7 at halftime, but they outscored Baltimore 13-6 in the second half. It is the Rams' fifth straight win, and their free agent signings were big today. Odell Beckham Jr. continuing to shine since donning the horns, scored another touchdown. Von Miller had a big sack late in the game, and quarterback Matthew Stafford fought back from a tough first half. Stafford's turnovers led to 13 points for Baltimore, including a pick six deep in Rams territory. But look at his second half here. He was perfect. 14 for 14 after the break with 162 yards and a touchdown. So, Vince, all that said today, watching what he did in the first half, watching how he bounced back in the second half, what do you think overall of Matthew Stafford today?
Well, the Rams usually start off fast, Kyle. I mean, they're a fast-starting team, and they're a team to catch fire, and they just keep going. This game was a little different. I think the Ravens showed their urgency. They had to win this game to stay in the playoff hunt. But I think overall, his second half performance stood out because he was pitcher perfect. He threw the ball when he had to, and great players step up when they really have to, Kyle. And he really showed the reason why he's here in LA.
Are you concerned, though, because as we look at the numbers, 15 interceptions on the season now, but 12 of those interceptions coming in the first half. It's like he digs himself a hole, and then he's very, very good in the second half. One would think a guy with this kind of experience, kind of poise, shouldn't be making the kind of mistakes early in ball games that he is.
Yeah, maybe he's seeing things that really actually are not there sometimes, Kyle, but he does have a sense to kind of rush his passes sometimes. He forces things sometimes. But, you know, Chuck Knox was one of our great coaches in Los Angeles, and he once said, I don't want to see a space focus. I want to see a fine focus. And I think what happens is he gets lost sometimes at this, thinking of everything around him, and he really needs to fine-tune his throwing, because when he does that, he's accurate as any quarterback out there.
You're right, Vince. And that shows up every single time. I mean, when you think about it, 2 weeks ago, he was awful, and then he came back and he had a quarterback rating for the second half of that game of 145. Today, as bad as he was, he came back with a QBR of 138. So Matthew Stafford, to me, is a guy that he goes out there and he's trying to figure things out early on, and he maybe isn't dialed in with that fine focus that you and I both know that you need to have. But then when he gets it, this is when he is dangerous. This is when this football team, they realize that and they come alive. You can just sense the energy building because they know that he's not going to let them down. He just gets better and better as the game goes along.
I think the thing that concerns me the most is the early mistakes are not physical mistakes. It's not like he's trying to put a
Mental
ball
mistakes.
in a window and he's missing it.
Yeah.
He's making bad mental mistakes, and I would think a guy with 12 years experience in the NFL wouldn't be making these kind of mistakes anymore.
Yeah, you would think
let's talk about his number one target, of course, Cooper Kupp, and he is chasing history. Here's what Cooper Kupp did today: 6 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. Here's where Kupp's season stands against the very best to ever play the game. Calvin Johnson, of course, remains at the top. Kupp passed Isaac Bruce for the Rams' franchise record for receiving yards in the season, and now he needs just 136 yards. I say just, but that's certainly within his grasp. 136 yards next week in order to top Calvin Johnson. So, should Cooper Kupp be in the MVP conversation? No wide receiver has ever won this award, but the GOAT came close. And of course, when we talk GOATs and we're talking wide receivers, it's Jerry Rice. He finished second in MVP voting in 1995. Cooper Kupp versus Jerry Rice in 95, when Rice finished second in MVP voting to Brett Favre. So,
16 years ago, Kyle. That was when he broke those records.
Sure.
And the game has changed so much in the last 16 years. I mean, it's more of a passing league today, so that's how good Jerry Rice was.
No doubt. So that all being said, and we've talked about the MVP voting already. We've thrown Jonathan Taylor in there, although, Jackie, I know you've said time and time again.
Rarely will it back.
It's not going to happen. Do you include Cooper Kupp in this conversation? Let's get Ron Pitts involved here. Ron, what do you think?
You know, how do you not? Look what the guy's done. You know, we talked about last week the fact that it was a travesty that he was never voted to a Pro Bowl. So finally, he exceeds even Pro Bowl numbers, and he finally goes to the Pro Bowl. But you have to put him in this conversation. Here's what I like. You know, you talk about the why, Kyle, what makes a guy great. Here's what I like about Kupp. Not every receiver can think on the run. It's one thing to draw plays up in a meeting room when it's quiet and it's peaceful. Okay, but when the pieces start moving and the action starts moving, guys don't always play the same. He can see the game. You know, some of the great ones could do that. Guys like Montana, guys like Rice we're talking about. The game would slow down for them or whatever. But he can see things happening as he's going full speed. And I think that's one of the things that make him great. And you guys tell a great story about his combine day, you know, when McVay and Coach Eric Yarber, the receiver coach, got together. And they looked at this kid and said, you know what, he is so good. He is so smart. Man, he could be a receiver coach. That's what he's brought to this team. And you can see it every day. So, yeah, I think he has to be, Kyle, in that conversation without a doubt.
What do you think, Jackie? You know, one thing I love about Cooper, it's not just what he does when he catches the football and what he does with yards after the catch, but also his blocking ability, and he's paving the way for Sony Michel to get into the end zone. So, Jackie, is he in the conversation?
Well, I think you have to put him in the conversation. And it's hard for me to say that because, you know, historically I haven't seen a receiver win this award. But, I mean, I've been enamored with Cooper Kupp for some time now. First of all, he went to the combine and he ran a 4.66 40. I ran a 4.85 at 300 pounds. And so I'm thinking this guy is too slow. But every time we look around, he's running away from people. And then I did some more research on this guy. I saw where his coach said at the FCS level that no receiver that he ever had, no player that he coached in 22 years had a better work ethic than Cooper Kupp. And then I started looking a little further, and this is when I found out every single year that he played college football, his numbers were better every single year. And he was a first-team All-American for 4 straight years. That has never happened before. So the production that we're seeing from Cooper Kupp right now, we really shouldn't be surprised because the coach said that when he was in high school, he dropped 2 touchdown passes in a 9-point loss, and he's never forgotten it. This guy works really hard to be good at what he's done. He is the ultimate professional. All of his teammates know it. And you look at the secondaries that are trying to cover him, they are watching his every move because they know that if they don't cover Cooper Kupp, he will kill them dead every single time. This guy is dangerous, and we should be all very proud and very happy to have him and Aaron Donald, 2 very unique players playing on the Rams here in LA.
And you talk about unique. One thing I find remarkable is he's chasing a guy, Calvin Johnson, who back in 2012, this was 10 years ago. Megatron put up these numbers, right? 1,964 yards. Yeah. Well, we saw that coming because he had just signed a $134 million contract. He was on the cover of Madden that year. He was Megatron, the best receiver in football.
In the world.
So
and who was throwing to him?
You could see this coming, right? Yeah. And yes, Matthew Stafford, of course, you could see all of this coming. But this year, who saw this coming from Cooper Kupp? You could argue before the season began, you weren't sure who the best receiver on this team was, let alone who the best receiver in football was.
But Kyle, Jackie said he improves each and every year. When I saw him in the room in the film study as a rookie receiver. He was so intelligent, so smart. His route, just the way he ran his routes, his knowledge of the game was immense. And just look, in 4 or 5 years, what he's turned out to be.
Unbelievable.
Boy, I'd like to see him standing next to
His
Megatron.
numbers: 428 catches, 464 yards, 73 touchdowns at the FCS level. Got better every single season.
Remarkable. All right, why don't we take a look now at the NFC playoff picture following all the early action today. Of course, right now, the Green Bay Packers are playing against the Minnesota Vikings. Should the Packers win that game, they will lock up the #1 seed in the NFC. But today, guys, by virtue of the Dallas Cowboys losing today, now you've got the Rams taking over the #2 seed in the NFC. So, Ron, what do you think about that? How do you feel about the Rams in that 2 slot?
You know, we were talking about this before we came on, whether or not, okay, if the Rams win or if the Arizona Cardinals lose, do they win the division, and what's best, or is it best to get the 2 seed? You know, the Rams are playing great football right now. They're doing it on the road. They're doing it when it's supposed to be cold, when it's supposed to be hard. This is what great teams do, and they're stepping up to the occasion. I thought this game was interesting because it started off rough. We talked about Matthew Stafford and the interceptions. But 2 big plays on defense changed this thing. It was a 10-0 game. Fuller's interception on the errant throw by Huntley was big because the Rams went down the field and got a touchdown, got points, so it woke them up a little bit. Then late in the game, they had that stand coming off of the error by the Ravens on the delay of game. That was big, and the Rams took over the game. The star players are starting to play, and that's what they have to have happen. Yeah, they didn't win the division today, but this is going to be a great game next week. They're going to go up against a 49er team who they owe something to because this 49er team is beating them up a little bit. So I think they're in a great spot. Now, can Stafford slow down and stop the interceptions? That's going to be key because you're going to pay the price for those when you play big teams, good teams, in the playoffs.
Yeah, and guys, as we look ahead to the final week of the regular season, again, it's a week 18, and you've got the Rams taking on the 49ers. They still have not locked up the division yet.
Nope.
They still need to win. So even though right now they're sitting pretty in that #2 seed spot, they could fall down to #5 and start the playoffs on the road. There you see it next Sunday, 1:25 right here on Fox 11.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Kyle, that the 3 wildcard teams are just as strong as probably the division leaders.
Oh,
I mean, you
boy.
got Eagles,
Yeah.
49ers, and Arizona. They're all win today, so I mean, they're as good a foe as anybody
Yeah.
in this league.
And
So-
the
Vince, who do you want to play? You were saying earlier you don't like the Eagles.
I don't want to play the Eagles because they run the football. The Rams are built to get after the quarterback, to play great pass coverage and put pressure on that passer. I don't like the Philadelphia Eagles. They're the #1 rush team in the game. They run that ball even with their quarterback. And then looking at the 49ers coming in here, remember now the 49ers ran the ball over the Rams quite a bit, and they put together several 14, 15 play drives. So this is what concerns me about the Rams. People coming out and getting physical at the line of scrimmage. And as long as they try to throw it, we're going to win. The Rams are going to win the ball games. That's simple as that.
Okay, we need to step away for just a moment, but coming up right here, the Chargers were at SoFi today needing a win to keep pace in the AFC playoff picture. We're going to head to SoFi for live reaction next right here on Sports Wrap.